She thought she was kicking me out, but I already knew how this was going to end. My name is Hannah, and I'm 28 years old. For most of my adult life, I've been living in what I thought was my childhood home with my mother, Prudence. What I didn't know until recently was that she'd been lying to me about owning it for years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the phone charger. Hannah, where's my charger? Prudence's voice cut through the house like a fire alarm at 3 a.m. I was in the kitchen, making coffee before my shift at the accounting firm. Which charger? Don't play dumb with me, my phone charger, the one that was plugged in by my bed. I stirred sugar into my mug, keeping my voice level. I haven't touched your charger. Her footsteps thundered down the hallway. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her bathrobe, hair wild, holding her phone like evidence in a murder trial. It's not there. Someone moved it. Maybe you moved it and forgot? Her eyes narrowed. Are you calling me senile? Here we go. I'm saying maybe you just misplaced it. It happens. Nothing just happens in my house, Hannah. Things have a place and they stay there unless someone moves them. My house. Always my house. Never our house. I took a sip of coffee and said nothing. Well? She demanded. Well, what? Aren't you going to help me look for it? I glanced at the clock on the microwave. I have to leave for work in 10 minutes. Work? She said it like it was a dirty word. You mean that little job where you sit behind a desk all day and pretend to be important? The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. It pays my bills. What bills? You live here rent-free. You eat my food. You use my electricity. What bills could you possibly have? I set my mug down harder than necessary. I pay for my car, my phone, my insurance, my student loans, my... Oh, please, spare me the sob story. You're 28 years old, Hannah. Most people your age have their own place by now. Most people my age had parents who didn't make them feel guilty for existing. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Prudence's face went white, then red. Excuse me? I should have backed down, should have apologized and helped her look for the stupid charger. But something in me snapped. You heard me. How dare you speak to me like that in my own home? Your home, where I've been cleaning, cooking, and basically acting like your personal assistant for the past 10 years. Personal assistant? She laughed, but there was no humour in it. You're a freeloader, Hannah, a grown woman who can't take care of herself. I take care of myself just fine, and I take care of you too. Take care of me. You live here because I allow it. You eat because I buy groceries. You have a roof over your head because I'm generous enough to let you stay. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were closing in. Generous? Yes, generous. Do you know what most mothers would do with a daughter like you? They'd have kicked you out years ago. A daughter like me. A daughter who contributes nothing, who takes everything and gives nothing back, who has the audacity to stand in my kitchen and disrespect me over a phone charger. My hands were shaking. I gripped the edge of the counter. I found your charger. Where? In your purse? Where you left it yesterday when you came home from work? She stared at me for a long moment, then marched to the living room. I heard her rummaging through her purse, then silence. When she came back, she was holding the charger. Her face was stone. This doesn't change anything, she said. I know. You're still out of line. I know. She walked to the kitchen drawer and pulled out an envelope, a thick, official-looking envelope that she'd clearly prepared beforehand. I've been thinking about this for weeks, she said, holding it out to me. You want to act like an adult? Fine. Act like one. I took the envelope. My name was written on the front in her careful handwriting. What is this? Your notice to vacate. You have 30 days. The words hit me like cold water. You're evicting me. I'm giving you the push you clearly need. It's time for you to grow up, Hannah. Time for you to learn what the real world is like. I opened the envelope. Inside was a typed letter, formal and legal sounding. 30 days to vacate the premises. Signed and dated. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Prudence was watching me, waiting for me to cry or beg or fall apart. Instead, I picked up my coffee mug and finished it in one long swallow. Okay, I said. Okay? 30 days. I'll be out. She blinked, clearly expecting a different reaction. Good. It's about time. I grabbed my keys and purse from the counter. Have a great day, Prudence. As I walked to my car, I could feel her watching me from the kitchen window. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd finally broken me. She had no idea what was coming. The drive to work was quiet, but my mind was racing. 30 days, she really thought 30 days would destroy me. What Prudence didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment for 3 years. It started when I got tired of living paycheck to paycheck on my accounting firm's salary. I'd come home exhausted, and she'd be waiting with a list of chores and complaints about how I never contributed enough. So I decided to contribute more, just not to her. I began taking on freelance bookkeeping clients, small businesses mostly, a bakery here, a landscaping company there. I'd work on their books after dinner, sometimes until midnight, while Prudence watched her reality shows in the living room. Still playing on that computer? She'd say, walking past my bedroom door. Just some extra work. Don't strain yourself. The sarcasm rolled off me. Every snide comment was another hour I'd spend building my client base. Every eye roll was another business owner I'd reach out to. By year 2, I was pulling in an extra 1,000 a month. By year 3, I had 12 regular clients and a waiting list. But the real game changer came 6 months ago. I was at Murphy's Deli, grabbing lunch between my day job and a client meeting, when I overheard 2 men talking in the booth behind me. The whole accounting system is a mess, one said. We're hemorrhaging money and can't figure out where. What about that big firm downtown? Too expensive. We need someone who can work with a smaller budget but still knows their stuff. I turned around. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you say you need bookkeeping help? The older man, maybe 55 with greying temples, looked up. You know someone? I am someone, Hannah Warner. I run a freelance bookkeeping business. That someone turned out to be Marcus, who owned a chain of 3 auto repair shops. His books were indeed a disaster. Receipts stuffed in shoeboxes, no system for tracking inventory, payments scattered across 4 different bank accounts. How much would it cost to fix this? Marcus asked during our first meeting. I looked at the mountain of paperwork on his desk. For a complete overhaul and ongoing monthly maintenance, probably around $15,000 for the initial cleanup, then $3,000 a month. He whistled. The big firm quoted me $40,000 just to start. I'm not the big firm. When can you start? It took me 4 months to untangle his financial mess, working nights and weekends. But when I was done, Marcus's shops were running like clockwork. He could see exactly where every dollar was going, which services were most profitable, which employees were worth keeping. You saved my business, he told me, when I presented the final report. Seriously, I was about to close the downtown location. Just doing my job. No, this is above and beyond. I'm recommending you to everyone I know. That recommendation led to 3 more clients. Then those clients recommended me to their friends. Word spread fast in the small business community. Last month, Marcus called me with an opportunity that changed everything. Hannah, you know my buddy Bryant who owns that property management company? The one with the rental houses. That's him. He's looking to retire, wants to sell off some of his properties. Cash buyers only. I told him about you, how you've got your finances together. I'm not really in the market for real estate. Just hear him out. He's got this one house, been renting it to the same tenant for 15 years. Lady's been late on rent 6 months running. He's tired of dealing with it. Something in my chest tightened. What's the address? Marcus gave me the street name. My street name. Marcus, I need to call you back. I hung up and sat in my car outside the office building, hands shaking. I pulled up the county records on my phone and searched the address. Owner, Bryant Cooper. Not Prudence Warner. Not my mother. Bryant Cooper. I called Marcus back. That property your friend wants to sell, is it 412 Maple Street? Yeah, that's the one. You know it? I live there. No kidding. So you know the tenant then? Prudence something? She's my mother. Silence on the other end. Then, oh wow, that's Complicated. Can you set up a meeting with Bryant? Hannah, are you sure about this? I mean, family stuff can get messy. Set up the meeting. Bryant and I met at a coffee shop downtown 2 days later. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tired eyes, worn hands, the look of a man who dealt with difficult tenants for too long. So you're Prudence's daughter, he said, stirring his coffee. I am? This is a bit unusual. I understand, but I'm interested in the property. He leaned back in his chair. Can I ask why? I've been living there my whole life. I'd like to own it. And your mother? What about her? Bryant studied my face. That Prudence woman? She hasn't paid rent on time in 6 months. Always has an excuse. Always promises it'll be different next month. The coffee shop suddenly felt very quiet. She told me she owned the house. Bryant's eyebrows shot up. She told you what? She's been telling me she owns the house for years, I said, staring into my coffee cup. Every time I asked about moving out or getting my own place, she'd say things like, "This is my house and I make the rules here." Bryant shook his head slowly. I've been her landlord for 15 years. She's never owned anything. How behind is she on rent? 3 months. That's $4,500. I was about to start eviction proceedings when Marcus mentioned you might be interested in buying. The irony was almost too perfect. What are you asking for the house? It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Needs some work, but the bones are solid. In this market, probably $180,000. I had $186,000 in savings. Every penny I'd earned from 3 years of late nights and weekend work. I can do cash, I said. Bryant's tired eyes lit up. Cash? Full asking price. Cash. How soon can we close? With cash? 2 weeks, maybe less. I pulled out my phone and called Scarlett. Hey girl, what's up? Can you meet me for lunch? I need to tell you something. Sure, but you sound weird. Everything okay? Just meet me at Tony's in an hour. Scarlett was already at a corner booth when I arrived, her red hair catching the afternoon sunlight streaming through the window. Okay, spill, she said before I even sat down. You look like you've seen a ghost. My mother doesn't own our house. Scarlett blinked. What? She's been renting it for 15 years, from a guy named Bryant. She's 3 months behind on rent. But she always talks about it like she owns it. I know. She's been lying. The waitress came over, and we ordered without really looking at the menu. When she left, Scarlett leaned forward. How did you find this out? I told her about Marcus, about Bryant, about the meeting, about the $180,000 sitting in my savings account. Holy shit, Hannah! You're going to buy your own house? I'm going to buy the house she's been pretending to own while she kicks me out of it. Scarlett's eyes went wide. That's brilliant, and also kind of terrifying. She gave me 30 days to move out. What she doesn't know is that in 2 weeks I'll be her landlord. What are you going to do then? Give her 30 days to move out. Scarlett started laughing, not a little chuckle, but full-blown, tears in her eyes laughter that made other customers turn and stare. I'm sorry, she gasped, wiping her eyes. It's just the poetic justice of it all. You think I'm crazy? I think you're a genius. But Hannah, are you ready for the fallout? Because when she finds out, she's going to lose her mind. That's putting it mildly. We ate our sandwiches while I explained the timeline. Bryant wanted to close as soon as possible. I'd already called my bank about a cashier's check. The inspection was scheduled for tomorrow. Where are you going to stay until closing? Scarlett asked. At home. She doesn't know anything yet. That's going to be awkward. It's been awkward for 28 years. When I got home that evening, Prudence was in the living room with company. My cousin Caden was sprawled on the couch like he owned the place, and 2 of Prudence's friends from work were perched on the love seat. There she is, Prudence announced as I walked in. My daughter, the one I was telling you about. Caden smirked. Still living with Mommy at 28? That's rough, cuz. Not for much longer, I said, heading for the kitchen. That's right, Prudence called after me. Hannah's finally moving out. I gave her the push she needed. I could hear them laughing in the living room. About time, one of the work friends said. My daughter moved out at 22. Some kids just need longer to grow up, Prudence replied. I've been patient, but patience has its limits. I made myself a sandwich and tried to ignore the conversation, but Caden's voice carried. Remember when we were kids and Hannah would cry every time someone raised their voice? Still doing that, Hannah? Leave her alone, Caden, Prudence said, but she was still laughing. I'm just saying, some people never learn to stand up for themselves. They just take whatever life gives them. I walked back into the living room with my sandwich. You're right, Caden, I said. Some people do just take whatever life gives them. He looked surprised that I'd responded. See? She gets it. But some people, I continued, decide to stop taking and start giving back. What's that supposed to mean? Prudence asked. Nothing. Just agreeing with Caden. But as I headed upstairs to my room, I heard Prudence's friend whisper, She seems different tonight. Different how? I don't know. Less defeated? Prudence's voice was sharp. Hannah's always been dramatic. She'll be fine once she's forced to grow up. In my room, I pulled out my laptop and opened my email. Bryant had sent over the purchase agreement. All it needed was my signature and a cashier's check. My phone buzzed with a text from Scarlett. Second thoughts? I typed back. None whatsoever. Good. She has no idea what's coming. I looked at the eviction notice still sitting on my dresser, then at the purchase agreement on my screen. She really had no idea. The closing was scheduled for Friday morning at 10. I told Prudence I had a dentist appointment. On a Friday morning? She asked, not looking up from her coffee. Emergency root canal. How convenient, right when you should be job hunting. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. I'll be back this afternoon. Don't expect me to feel sorry for you when you're homeless in 3 weeks. The title company office was small and sterile, with beige walls and motivational posters about achieving your dreams. Bryant was already there when I arrived, looking nervous. You sure about this, Hannah? Never been more sure of anything. The closing agent, a woman named Patricia, with kind eyes and greying hair, spread the documents across the conference table. This is a cash purchase, correct? I pulled the cashier's check from my purse. $180,000, 3 years of my life reduced to a single piece of paper. Here's the check. Patricia examined it, then smiled. Well, this should be straightforward then. Mr. Bryant, you have the deed? For the next hour we signed papers, purchase agreement, deed transfer, title insurance, property disclosure. My hand cramped from writing my signature so many times. And that's it, Patricia finally said, handing me a thick manila envelope. Congratulations, Hannah. You're now the proud owner of 412 Maple Street. Bryant shook my hand. I hope this works out the way you want it to. It will. What are you going to do about your mother? Give her the same courtesy she gave me. From the title company, I drove straight to Ira's law office. We'd been casually seeing each other for 6 months. Nothing serious, but he was the only lawyer I knew. Hannah? His secretary looked surprised. Do you have an appointment? Is Ira free? It's important. She buzzed him, and a minute later he appeared in the lobby, tall and calm as always, his tie slightly loosened from the morning's work. Hey, what's wrong? You look determined. I was going to say terrifying, but sure. In his office, I explained everything. The house, the lies, the eviction notice, the purchase. You bought your childhood home to evict your mother? He asked when I finished. I bought my childhood home because it was for sale, and I could afford it. The eviction is just a bonus. Ira leaned back in his chair. Hannah, I have to ask, are you sure this is the right way to handle this? She gave me 30 days. I'm giving her 30 days. But she's your mother. She's my tenant now. He was quiet for a long moment, then pulled out a legal pad. Okay, what do you need? A proper eviction notice, something official. Any particular reason for eviction? Non-payment of rent. She's 3 months behind. That works. When do you want to serve it? Today. Ira's eyebrows shot up. Today? She doesn't know I bought the house yet. I want the eviction notice to be how she finds out. Jesus, Hannah. Can you do it or not? He started writing. I can do it. But are you prepared for her reaction? I've been preparing for her reaction my whole life. An hour later, I had a legal eviction notice with my name listed as the property owner. 30 days to vacate. Same timeline she'd given me. My next stop was the hardware store. I need all the locks changed on a house, I told the clerk. How many doors? Front door, back door, side door, 3 deadbolts, 3 doorknob locks. We can do that. When do you need it done? Today, this afternoon. Rush job cost extra. That's fine. I gave him the address and my new house key. He promised to have it done by 4 o'clock. By the time I got home, it was almost 3. Prudence was in the garden, pulling weeds with more aggression than necessary. How was your root canal? She called out without looking up. Enlightening. I made tuna salad for lunch. It's in the fridge. Thanks. Inside, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the eviction notice. In 1 hour, a locksmith would arrive and change every lock on the house. In 2 hours, Prudence would come inside and find this notice taped to her bedroom door. My phone buzzed. Text from Scarlett. How did it go? It's done. I own the house. Holy shit. When are you telling her? She'll figure it out. I wish I could be there to see her face. You might hear the screaming from your apartment. At exactly 4 o'clock, a white van pulled into the driveway. Peterson Locksmith, painted on the side in blue letters. I met the locksmith at the front door. You must be Hannah. That's me. Got your work order right here? 3 doors. Complete rekey. How long will it take? About an hour. Prudence looked up from her gardening as the locksmith carried his toolbox to the front door. Hannah? What's going on? Just some maintenance. What kind of maintenance? Lock maintenance. She stood up, brushing dirt from her knees. Why are we changing the locks? Security upgrade. Security upgrade? Hannah? What aren't you telling me? The locksmith started drilling out the front door deadbolt. The sound was loud and final. I'll explain later, I said. Prudence walked over, her face suspicious. Explain what later? Everything. Hannah, you're scaring me. What's going on? I pulled the eviction notice from my purse and held it out to her. This. She took it, her eyes scanning the legal language. I watched her face change as she read. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something close to panic. This says you're the property owner. That's right. That's impossible. Check the deed if you want. Her voice rose. Hannah, this is some kind of mistake. No mistake. You can't own this house. I've lived here for 15 years. As a tenant. And now you're being evicted. The locksmith glanced over at us, then focused very intently on his work. Prudence stared at the notice, then at me, then back at the notice. You did what? As Prudence drove away the next morning, I pinned the eviction notice to the front door, with my name as landlord. Prudence came home from work at 5:47 p.m. I know because I was watching from the kitchen window when her car pulled into the driveway. She sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, staring at the eviction notice taped to the front door. Then she got out, walked up the steps, and ripped it down. The front door rattled as she tried her key, then rattled again. Then again, harder. Hannah, she shouted through the door. Hannah, open this door right now! I walked over and unlocked it. She burst in like a hurricane. What did you do to the locks? Change them. Why? It's my house now. I can change the locks if I want. She waved the crumpled eviction notice in my face. This is insane. You can't evict me from my own home. It's not your home. It never was. I've lived here for 15 years. As a renter, who's 3 months behind on rent? Prudence's face went white. How do you know about the rent? I know a lot of things now. She sank onto the couch, still clutching the notice. This is a joke, some kind of elaborate prank. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo I'd taken of the deed. Does this look like a joke? She squinted at the screen, then grabbed the phone from my hands. Her eyes moved across the document, and I watched her face change as reality set in. You actually bought the house? Yes. With what money? My money. You don't have this kind of money. Apparently I do. She stood up abruptly. This is illegal. You can't just buy someone's house out from under them. I bought it from the actual owner, Bryant Cooper. Remember him? Your landlord? He had no right to sell without telling me. He had every right. It's his property. Prudence started pacing the living room. There has to be some kind of law against this, some kind of tenant protection. There is. It's called paying your rent on time. I've been going through a rough patch. For 3 months. It's complicated. Not anymore. You have 30 days to find a new place. She stopped pacing and turned to face me. 30 days? Same timeline you gave me. Hannah, be reasonable. I can't find a place in 30 days. I found this place in 2 weeks. That's different. How? You're young. You're flexible. I'm 51 years old with a full-time job and 3 months of unpaid rent on your credit report. Her mouth snapped shut. Did you think about that when you decided to stop paying Bryant? I asked. Did you think about how it would affect your ability to rent somewhere else? I was going to catch up. When? Soon. With what money? You've been buying new clothes every week. You went to that spa weekend last month. You bought a new TV in February. How do you know about... I live here, Prudence. I see everything. She sat back down, harder this time. You've been planning this. For about a week. A week? That's when I found out you didn't own the house. And you decided to destroy my life. I decided to buy a house that was for sale. My house. Your rental. That you couldn't afford. Prudence's voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. I'm your mother. You're my tenant, and you're being evicted. She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in her expression. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something harder. You think you're so smart, she said quietly. Smart enough. You think you've won. I think I've solved a problem. You just made a huge mistake, Hannah. Did I? She stood up and walked to the front door, then turned back. You have no idea what you've started. Enlighten me. You want to play hardball? Fine, we'll play hardball. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're not the only one who knows things. What things? But she was already walking out the door. 30 days, you said. We'll see about that. The door slammed behind her, and I heard her car start up in the driveway. My phone rang immediately. Scarlett, I just saw Prudence tear out of your driveway like a bat out of hell. How did it go? About as well as expected. Meaning? She knows I own the house now. And she's not happy about it. What did she say? That I made a huge mistake. That I have no idea what I've started. Sounds like empty threats to me. Maybe. Hannah, you okay? You sound weird. I looked around the living room. The same furniture, the same carpet, the same family photos on the mantel. But it felt different now. It felt like mine. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. It's just strange, you know. This morning she was my landlord. Tonight I'm hers. Poetic justice. Yeah? So what happens now? Now I wait and see what she meant by, we'll see about that. You think she'll actually move out? I thought about the look in her eyes when she left, the cold calculation replacing the shock. I think she's going to make this as difficult as possible. Can she do that legally? Probably not, but Prudence has never let legality stop her before. Prudence's retaliation started at 7 a.m. the next morning. I was making coffee when I heard voices in the front yard. Through the kitchen window, I saw Prudence talking to Eliza, our neighbour from across the street. Eliza was nodding and shaking her head at all the right moments, her face a picture of concern. By the time I left for work, 3 more neighbours had joined the conversation. My phone started ringing during lunch. Hannah, it's Eliza from across the street. Hi, Eliza. Honey, I just wanted to check on you. Your mother told me some very concerning things. Such as? Well, she says you've been forging legal documents. Something about trying to steal the house. I set down my sandwich. She said I was forging documents? She's very upset, dear. She says you've been planning this for months, that you somehow tricked the real owner into selling to you. Eliza, can I ask you something? Of course. In the 15 years you've lived across from us, have you ever seen Prudence do any maintenance on the house? Any repairs, landscaping, anything an owner would do? Silence on the other end. Well, now that you mention it, have you ever seen a mortgage company truck in our driveway? Any property tax assessors? Anything that would indicate she owns the house? I never really thought about it. Because she doesn't own it. She never has. She's been renting from a man named Bryant Cooper, and she's 3 months behind on rent. But she said a lot of things. Would you like to see the deed? The purchase agreement? The bank records? Hannah, I don't understand. Why would she lie about something like that? You'd have to ask her. I hung up and immediately called Ira. She's spreading lies about me, I said when he answered. What kind of lies? That I forged documents, that I stole the house, that I am some kind of criminal. That's defamation. We could sue. I don't want to sue. I just want her out of my house. Hannah, maybe you should consider... Consider what? Maybe there's a way to work this out without the nuclear option. The nuclear option was her evicting me. This is just the fallout. When I got home that evening, there was a small crowd in my front yard. Eliza, 2 other neighbours I recognised, and a woman I'd never seen before. Prudence was holding court like some kind of victims' rights advocate. The whole thing is fraudulent, she was saying as I walked up. She somehow convinced this Bryant person to sell her a house that isn't his to sell. Actually, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Bryant Cooper has owned this house for 15 years. I have the deed to prove it. The crowd turned to look at me. Prudence's face went red. Hannah, we were just spreading lies about me to the neighbours. I was explaining the situation. No, you were lying. Again. I pulled out my phone and showed the screen to Eliza. This is the County Property Records website. You can look up any address and see who owns it. What does it say for 412 Maple Street? Eliza squinted at the screen. It says, Bryant Cooper? And what's the purchase date? February 15th, 2008. 15 years ago, before I even graduated high school, the woman I didn't recognise stepped forward. I'm Janet from down the street. Your mother said you somehow forced this Bryant person to sell to you. With what? A gun? Blackmail? I paid asking price in cash. She said you've been planning this for years. I've been planning to move out for years. I just decided to move up instead of out. Prudence's voice was shrill. You can't just buy someone's home out from under them. It wasn't your home, it was your rental, that you stopped paying for. I was going through a difficult time. You were going through a spa weekend and a shopping spree. Eliza looked back and forth between us. Prudence, is it true you haven't been paying rent? That's between me and my landlord. I am your landlord now, I said. And you owe me $4,500 in back rent. The crowd was quiet. Janet cleared her throat. So you actually own the house now? Yes. And you're evicting your mother? I'm evicting a tenant who hasn't paid rent in 3 months. But she's your mother. She's also the person who gave me 30 days to get out of what I thought was my childhood home. Eliza's eyes widened. She evicted you first? 3 days ago. Prudence, you didn't mention that part. Prudence's mouth opened and closed like a fish. That's different. How is it different? Janet asked. Because you thought you had all the power, I said. And now you don't. The crowd started to disperse. Janet shook her head as she walked away. This is messier than my divorce. Eliza lingered. Hannah, honey, I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. I should have asked for your side before I called. It's okay. She can be very convincing. What happens now? Now she finds a new place to live. And if she doesn't, then the sheriff will help her find one. After everyone left, Prudence and I stood alone in the front yard. You humiliated me, she said. You humiliated yourself. Those people will never look at me the same way. Maybe they'll look at you honestly for the first time. She walked toward the front door, then stopped. I'm not giving up. I didn't expect you to. I have friends, people who care about me. Good. Maybe one of them has a spare room. You think you're so clever. I think I'm tired of this conversation. I started to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm. This isn't over, Hannah. Yes, it is. You just haven't accepted it yet. As I unlocked the front door with my new key, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hannah, this is your Aunt Kimberly, Prudence's sister. We need to talk. I called Kimberly back immediately. Hannah? Thank God you called. How did you get my number? I have my ways. Listen, we need to meet. Tonight, if possible. What's this about? Your mother called me this afternoon. She's spinning quite a story about what happened. Let me guess. I'm the villain. Something like that. Can you meet me at Rosie's Diner on 5th Street? 7 o'clock? I looked at the clock. It was already 6:30. I'll be there. Rosie's Diner was one of those places that hadn't changed since the 1970s. Red vinyl booths, checkered floors, and a jukebox that probably still played actual records. Kimberly was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with 2 cups of coffee. She looked like an older, softer version of Prudence, but her eyes were kinder. Hannah, sit down. You look just like your father. I slid into the booth across from her. You knew my dad? Before Prudence drove him away, yes. But that's not why I'm here. Why are you here? Kimberly wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Because I've been where you are. What do you mean? 20 years ago, I lived with your mother for 6 months. Worst 6 months of my life. I didn't know that. She doesn't like to talk about it. I was going through a divorce, needed a place to stay. Prudence offered to let me rent her spare room. Rent? $50 a week, she said. Seemed reasonable. Kimberly took a sip of coffee. By the end of the first month, I was doing all the cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, and paying for everything. That sounds familiar. She had this way of making you feel guilty for existing, like you were this massive burden she was generously tolerating. What happened? I started looking for my own place. The day I told her I was moving out, she handed me a bill for $2,400. For what? Utilities, food, wear and tear on the furniture. She itemized everything down to the toilet paper. I stared at her. Did you pay it? I was so beaten down by then, I almost did. But my lawyer friend looked at it and laughed. Said it was complete nonsense. So what did you do? I moved out the next day. Didn't pay her a dime. She didn't speak to me for 5 years. The waitress came over to refill our coffee. When she left, Kimberly leaned forward. Hannah, your mother called me today crying. Said you'd stolen her house, forged documents, threatened her. And you believed her? For about 5 minutes. Then I remembered the $2,400 bill. So you don't think I'm a monster? I think you're brilliant, and I think it's about time someone stood up to her. She's telling everyone I'm destroying her life. She destroyed her own life. You just stopped enabling it. My phone buzzed with a text. Then another. Then another. Excuse me, I said, checking the messages. The first was from Scarlett. Your mum is at Murphy's bar telling everyone you're a sociopath. The second was from Ira. Prudence just called my office. She wants to sue you for elder abuse. The third was from a number I didn't recognize. This is Tom from the auto shop. Your mum says you stole her house. Is that true? I showed Kimberly the messages. She's really going all out, Kimberly said. What should I do? Nothing. Let her dig her own grave. What if people believe her? Some will, but the truth has a way of coming out. We talked for another hour. Kimberly told me stories about growing up with Prudence, about the lies and manipulation that went back decades. She's always been like this, Kimberly said, as we got ready to leave. Even as a kid, she'd create these elaborate stories where she was the victim and everyone else was against her. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know you're not crazy, and you're not alone. She hugged me in the parking lot. Don't let her guilt you into backing down. I won't. Good. And Hannah? If you need anything, call me. I mean it. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in days, but as I turned onto my street, I saw police cars in my driveway. 2 officers were standing on my front porch talking to Prudence. She was gesturing wildly, pointing at the house, at the eviction notice still taped to the door. I parked on the street and walked over. Excuse me, officers. I'm Hannah. I live here. The older cop turned to me. Mum, we got a call about a break-in. A break-in? Prudence stepped forward. She changed the locks on my house without permission. That's breaking and entering. It's my house, I said calmly. I have the deed. She's lying, Prudence said. She forged documents. The younger cop looked tired. Ma'am, do you have proof of ownership? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photo of the deed, then the county records website. "This shows you purchased the property 3 days ago," he said. "That's right." "And you served an eviction notice?" "She's 3 months behind on rent." The older cop looked at Prudence. "Ma'am, if she owns the property and you're behind on rent, this is a civil matter. We can't help you." "But she's my daughter." "That doesn't change property law. This is insane. Ma'am, you need to work this out through the courts or find somewhere else to stay." After the police left, Prudence turned to me. "You called the cops on your own mother?" "You called the cops on me first." "I was trying to get back into my own home." "Your rental, that you can't afford." "I hate you," she said quietly. "I know. You've ruined everything." "I've fixed everything." She walked to her car, then turned back one more time. "You just made a huge mistake," she said, echoing her words from the night before. But as she drove away, I noticed something different. Her voice was shaking. For the first time since this started, Prudence sounded scared. As the neighbours watched from their windows, I realised something. Word travels fast in a small neighbourhood. By morning, everyone would know the truth. The final showdown came on day 28. I was working in my home office, my actual home office now, when I heard a car door slam in the driveway. Then another. Then footsteps on the front porch. The doorbell rang 3 times in quick succession. I opened the door to find Prudence standing there with 2 large men I'd never seen before. One was holding a toolbox. "We're here to change the locks back," she announced. "No, you're not. This is my house, Hannah. I've lived here for 15 years. As a tenant, who's being evicted in 2 days. The man with the toolbox stepped forward. "Ma'am, we were hired to change these locks. We're just doing our job." "By who?" "By me," Prudence said. "The homeowner." I pulled out my phone and called 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "I have trespassers on my property attempting to break into my home." Prudence's eyes went wide. "Hannah, hang up that phone." 412 Maple Street. "I need officers here immediately." "You're calling the police on your own mother?" "I'm calling the police on someone who's trying to illegally enter my property." The 2 men looked at each other nervously. "Lady, maybe we should go," the one with the toolbox said. "No," Prudence snapped. "This is my house." "Ma'am, do you have proof of ownership?" the other man asked. "I don't need proof. I've lived here for 15 years. "That's not how property ownership works," I said. The police arrived within 5 minutes, the same 2 officers from before. "Ma'am," the older cop said to Prudence, "we've been through this. You don't own this property." "She stole it from me." "She purchased it legally from the actual owner." "But I'm her mother." "That doesn't give you squatters' rights." The younger cop turned to the 2 men. "You gentlemen need to leave, now." They didn't need to be told twice. They packed up their tools and left without another word. "Ma'am," the older cop said to Prudence, "you have 2 days left on your eviction notice. I suggest you use them to find somewhere else to live." "This is discrimination." "No, ma'am, this is property law." After the police left, Prudence and I stood alone on the front porch. 2 days, she said. 2 days. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem. I'm your mother. You're my tenant. And your lease is up. She looked around the neighbourhood, at the houses where she'd lived for 15 years, at the life she thought she controlled. What am I supposed to tell people? The truth, for once. The truth? That you never owned this house, that you stopped paying rent, that you evicted your own daughter, and she found a way to fight back. Prudence's shoulders sagged. For the first time since this started, she looked defeated. "I never meant for it to go this far," she said quietly. "Yes, you did. I just wanted you to grow up, to be independent. I am independent. That's why I could afford to buy this house. With what money? You never told me you had that kind of money. Because it was none of your business. Just like my job wasn't your business. Just like my life wasn't your business. I'm your mother. Everything about you is my business. Not anymore." She walked to her car, then turned back. "Where am I supposed to go, Hannah?" "Kimberly offered you her spare room." "You talked to Kimberly?" "She called me, told me some interesting stories about the 6 months she lived here." Prudence's face went pale. That was different. Was it? She was going through a divorce. She needed help. And you charged her for toilet paper? Prudence got in her car without another word. 2 days later, I watched from my kitchen window as she loaded her belongings into a moving truck. Kimberly was there helping her, along with Caden and one of her work friends. Eliza came over as the truck pulled away. So she's really gone? She's really gone. Where did she end up? Apartment complex on the other side of town. 1 bedroom, $800 a month. That's got to be hard for her. She'll adjust. And you? How are you doing with all this? I looked around my living room. I'd already started redecorating. New curtains, new throw pillows, a bookshelf where her collection of ceramic cats used to sit. I'm doing fine. No regrets? About buying my own house? None. About evicting your mother? I thought about that for a moment. About the years of manipulation, the constant criticism, the way she'd made me feel like a burden in my own home. She gave me 30 days to get out of what I thought was my childhood home, I said. I gave her 30 days to get out of what she thought was hers. Seems fair to me. Eliza nodded slowly. I guess when you put it that way. Besides, I added, she's probably happier now. She always said I was too much trouble to live with. That evening, Scarlett came over with a bottle of wine and Chinese takeout. So how does it feel? She asked, settling onto my couch. How does what feel? Being a homeowner, being free, getting your revenge. I opened the wine and poured 2 glasses. Quiet. Quiet? For the first time in my adult life, my house is quiet. No one's yelling at me about phone charges or calling me a freeloader or making me feel guilty for existing. That's got to be nice. It's weird, but nice. We ate dinner and watched a movie, and for the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about someone criticizing my choice of entertainment or telling me the volume was too loud. Around 10 o'clock, Scarlett got ready to leave. You know what the best part of this whole thing is? She said, putting on her coat. What? You didn't just get revenge, you got justice. What's the difference? Revenge is about hurting someone who hurt you. Justice is about restoring balance. And which one did I get? Both. After she left, I walked through my house, turning off lights and locking doors. In the master bedroom, I'd already moved my things into the closet that used to be off limits. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hannah, this is your mother. I wanted you to know I'm settled in my new place. It's small, but it's mine. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, Good for you. A minute later, another message. I hope you're happy. I looked around my quiet house, at the space that was finally truly mine, and typed, I am. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. They say karma takes time, but sometimes it collects rent early.